Hi everybody, this is Adam Friedman. Today for my tips and tricks video I'm going to be focusing on a couple of the things that you can do in Excel that you may not have already known. Frankly, this will probably be a video for beginners more than more advanced folks, but hey, you never know when you might actually learn something, so it's probably worth spending a couple minutes here. What I'm going to be focusing on today are the options available to you. And specifically, since this is a rather limited time frame that I have, I'm going to be focusing on the member options tab. And we're going to talk about what some of these things, not all of them, but what some of these things can do for you and what might be extremely useful. And we'll do a little bit of demonstrations throughout. So just to start with, we've got, and just for your focus, we have accounts as rows, we have periods and years as columns, and we have a couple of point of view dimensions like actual, working, and then entity and product. So a very simple model. Entity and product are the roll-ups of the entity and product dimension. Nothing overly exciting there. What I'd like to do is to focus on what would happen if we change some of these. Right now, we're set so that our zoom in level goes to all levels. Member name display is member name and alias, and indentation is none. Let's talk about zoom in level to begin with. This actually does not set your zoom in as much as it sets your default zoom in. No matter what this is set to, you can choose what you want to do. So I'm not going to change it just yet, but as an example, let's go to the S-Base menu. If I go to net income and I just hit zoom in, it will go down to that level, since that's what I just asked for. Right? And by the way, maybe the easiest way to undo something is to literally use the undo. So if you didn't know there's an undo here, you go to Smart View, you click undo, and there you are, back to where you were without having to reverse your steps. When I'm here, when I hit zoom in, I can always, let's say just go to next level or all levels or bottom level. What the default does is allows you to set literally what happens if you hit zoom in, or what happens if you have double click enabled and you double click on the member. So again, if I double click here, it will go down to the bottom level. But if I change that option, and instead of all levels, I go down to next level, which is what I almost always use. When I double click, it's now just going to go down one level. So now you see we're going down to total pre-tax income and total provision for income taxes. Now the next thing you might notice is that this is a little hard to read, and it's not too bad right now. We've got two members rolling up to net income, but if I start to drill down here, it's going to become obvious that it's very kind of difficult to tell what I'm looking at since everything is unindented. But one of my options here is to change my indentation from none to sub-items or totals. But let's talk about sub-items, because I almost always keep mine default to sub-items. So I hit OK, and now I'm going to hit refresh. And by doing this, see, I can now really easily tell what rolls into what. And that's really the whole reason for using the indent the way I do. Next, member name display. This one can be extremely confusing. So let's talk about this. Let's say you say member name only, right? So you'd think, okay, so that's going to give me the member name. Now, if you notice over here, my member names are here. GP, OpX, 0002. That's my member name. When I hit refresh here, that's weird. These are aliases. These aren't member names. So what exactly is going on here? Well, if you really want the member name, well, first of all, that option that we looked at, all that does is tell you if you see both the name and the alias or only one column. The way to tell what column you're going to look at is by clicking on Change Alias. It's on the S-Base menu. By clicking Change Alias, I can switch this to none, and now what I'm going to see coming back are member names, literally. Let's see, member names. So, point being that if you're looking to keep your aliases, you want to see aliases, you change or not, you change in one column, you change it here. So I'll say default, and this can take a minute, but it'll come back, and it'll be back to aliases again. So finally, and again, kind of rushing through some of these because we don't have a lot of time. Couple of other things that are of extreme use here. Oh, by the way, I almost always keep my member name display on member name only. Just personal reasons. It just seems better to have one column as for rows than two, for the most part. Not always, but for the most part. Member retention. I'm just going to talk about include selection. What this says is when I double click on a member, does it keep the member that I've double clicked on? So even though I've zoomed in, let's say I zoomed in next level, the default, if this was unchecked, not the default, but if this were unchecked, I would just get the children of net income. By saying include selection, it forces the system to leave net income on the screen. I'm not going to demo that for a time, but you can try that out. It's worth it. Final one I want to talk to you about is preserve formulas and comments in ad hoc operations. So oftentimes you might do some build some formulas off to the side. Let's see in column C here. You probably want to keep those formulas there even if you do a drill down. Well, that's what that's for. If you don't have this checked, you can easily overwrite your formulas or have them disappear on you, and you probably don't want that. One thing you can also try is that as you're drilling down, you can try and get the system to formula fill for you, where it'll extend the formula down the row based on where you zoomed in. So my final thing I'd like to point out on this, and this actually goes for all your options, when you're done, if you've come up with a set that you like and you want to use most of the time, to the right of the OK button is this little arrow. If you say save as default options, all of your new sheets will always start off with this configuration. And of course, anytime you want to change it, you just come back here and change it, and that's it. So I hope this was of some help to some people. Thank you for listening. Bye.